Rosalind Franklin was a British chemist and X-ray crystallographer operating exactly at the center of 20th century scientific breakthroughs. She was working in structural chemistry right at the moment modern molecular biology was taking shape. During this window, she captured the literal physical evidence of DNA's double helix structure, age 37, years before the Nobel Committee awarded the prizes for the discovery. Today, society tends to read her biography strictly through the lens of institutional bias and stolen credit. We look at the timeline and we maintain a mental ledger of the massive debt she is owed. That ledger of injustice is entirely accurate. But reducing her life to a story about a stolen trophy forces us to ask the wrong questions, and we miss the deeper mechanics of contribution her life reveals. To read her story accurately, we can use the AP framework to deconstruct a foundational psychological question. Why do humans obsess over recognition in the first place? The framework views the standard human ego as a structure built upon a profound sense of incompleteness. It tries to solve this deficit by using external applause as a structural scaffolding to keep upright. When recognition is withheld, the ego feels reduced. The scaffolding breaks. The person feels cheated to their core, obsessing over a ledger of what they are owed. The historical record shows Franklin was a normal human being who was fully aware of the credit she deserved. But here is the critical anomaly. When her scaffolding was denied, the scientific work did not stop. Her laboratory investigations did not pause at the first sign of under-recognition. Her refusal to halt reveals a drive that outpaces the basic human desire for validation. We can measure the scale of that drive by looking at her full scientific track record. Her commitment to inquiry extended far beyond one famous photograph of DNA. She executed rigorous, highly original research detailing the microstructures of coal and carbon-based materials, work that proved essential to the field of structural chemistry. Even after the intense friction over her molecular biology data, she simply moved to Birkbeck College and led highly significant structural research into viruses, specifically polio and the tobacco mosaic virus. If the primary objective of scientific labor is the promise of a prize, what fuels this kind of continuous, intensive progression when those rewards are clearly absent? The AP framework identifies this state as nishkam karma. This is action and inquiry separated entirely from the ego, where the labor does not terminate simply because the fruit or the reward is missing. Franklin's progression shows a career where the labor of discovery was the primary objective. The work was its own conclusion. When others utilized her data without consent, they practiced appropriation, attempting to turn a universal physical discovery into personal property. The framework asserts a reality regarding the physical universe. Truth can never be owned. It can only be served. The precise arrangement of the double helix remained an objective fact of biology, completely independent of whose name was printed next to it in a journal. Which leaves us with a final question. When the applause eventually fades and the ledgers of history are closed, what actually remains? The only lasting reality is the pure contribution itself. Rosalind Franklin's scientific legacy is far more than just a cautionary tale with institutional bias. By continuing to investigate coal, carbon, and viruses while her DNA work was appropriated, she lived the idea that truth is something to be served rather than owned.